Wait. Stop everything you're doing right now. The Dodgers GM just walked up to the microphone, and what came out of his mouth has the entire MLB world in complete shock. 4 key players, simultaneously, placed on the trade list. Kim Hye-sung. Rushing. Sheehan. All heading to Detroit. And in the same breath, the GM announces a brand new catcher has been signed, and then says 5 words that nobody expected. Ohtani is very happy. Let that sink in for a second. The greatest two-way player in the history of baseball just gave his approval. That is not a small statement. That is a franchise-defining moment. And today, we are breaking down exactly what this trade means, why the Dodgers made this move, what it signals for Ohtani's future, and whether this makes Los Angeles the most dangerous team in baseball right now. Let's get into it. So let's start with the obvious question. Why would the Dodgers move 3 players at the same time? Kim Hye-sung, Rushing, and Sheehan, these are not fringe roster names. These are contributors. These are players with futures. So what is the front office thinking? Well, first of all, this is not panic. This is precision. The Dodgers organization has always operated like a chess player, not a checkers player. They don't react, they anticipate. And when you look at what they're sending to Detroit, and what they're getting back in return, the picture becomes very clear. Kim Hye-sung is a versatile infielder with real upside, and the Tigers have been desperate for that kind of positional flexibility. Rushing brings athleticism and a competitive edge that fits exactly the kind of rebuilding culture Detroit is trying to build. And Sheehan, look, Sheehan has potential, but the Dodgers are no longer in the business of developing potential. They are in the business of winning right now. What's important to understand is that this isn't a teardown on the Dodgers' side. This is a strategic consolidation. They are tightening the roster. They are moving pieces they don't need in order to get the one piece they do need, a catcher who fits the system. A catcher who fits Ohtani. And that is where this story gets really interesting. Because here's the thing. Ohtani is not just a pitcher. He's not just a hitter. He is a complete baseball intelligence. And any catcher who works with Ohtani needs to understand that. They need to be able to manage a pitcher who adjusts mid-inning, who shifts his approach based on the count, the batter's stance, even the batter's breathing. That is not something every catcher can do. So when the GM says the new catcher has been signed, the real story isn't the name on the contract. The real story is what that signing tells us about how the Dodgers are building around Ohtani this season. Think about it from Ohtani's perspective. When you are pitching at the level he is pitching, ERA under 1.00, only 5 runs given up in over 55 innings, the catcher behind the plate is not just a receiver. He is a partner. He is the one person on the field who sees every pitch, who knows the sequencing, who can feel when Ohtani is loading too much power into a fastball or when his sweeper is missing low. A bad catcher-pitcher relationship can quietly destroy an ace's season. The wrong call at the wrong moment. A missed signal. A failure to recognize when the pitcher needs to be slowed down. These are the kinds of things that don't show up in box scores but absolutely show up in ERA over the course of a season. So when the GM says, Ohtani is very happy, that is a deeply significant statement. It means Ohtani was part of this conversation. It means he had input. And it means the front office listened. That is a franchise treating its superstar like the generational talent he is. Now let's talk about what this means for the Dodgers as a team competing right now. Because this trade doesn't happen in a vacuum. This is happening in the middle of a season where Ohtani is actively chasing both the Cy Young Award and MVP simultaneously. That has never been done in the history of modern baseball. And every decision the front office makes right now either supports that chase or complicates it. By moving Kim Hye-sung, Rushing, and Sheehan, the Dodgers are clearing something more than roster spots. They are clearing mental space. They are simplifying the locker room dynamic. They are telling the remaining players, this is our core, this is our identity, and we are going all in. From a hitter's perspective, and I say this as someone who studies opposing rosters closely, a team that is unified around one mission is far more dangerous than a team with depth but no direction. The Dodgers right now have direction. And that direction has Ohtani's name written all over it. Think about what it does to opposing pitchers knowing that Ohtani is not just going to face them, he's going to face them with a catcher who knows his tendencies, who can maximize his arsenal, who can extend his pitch efficiency deep into games. That is a nightmare scenario for any rotation in the National League. And this brings us to the real conversation. Because these moves don't exist in isolation. They are part of a larger story about what the Dodgers believe this season can be. Ohtani right now leads MVP mock voting with 30 out of 35 first-place votes. His ERA sits below 1.00. Since the second half of May, he has been hitting above .400 with an on-base percentage near .500. Those are numbers that don't even make sense when you say them out loud for a starting pitcher. But here's what people aren't talking about enough. Ohtani's biggest challenge for the Cy Young Award is not his ERA. It's not his strikeout rate, which is pushing over 31%. It's innings pitched. The benchmark that voters traditionally care about is 170 innings. And as a two-way player with longer rest intervals between starts, getting to 170 innings requires everything to go right. This catcher signing is a quiet step toward making that happen. A catcher who can manage pitch counts smartly, who knows when to push Ohtani for a seventh inning and when to protect him, who understands that the goal is not just today's win but October's championship. That kind of catcher is worth 3 roster moves. The Dodgers aren't just thinking about the next game. They are thinking about the next 4 months. Now let's be fair to the other side of this deal. Because Detroit is not walking away empty-handed. Hye-sung gives the Tigers exactly the kind of versatile, high-energy infielder that a rebuilding team needs to build culture. He's not just a player, he's a tone setter. Rushing adds athleticism at a position of need, and Sheehan is the kind of arm that could develop beautifully in a lower-pressure environment where he gets consistent innings. From Detroit's perspective, this is a smart acquisition of 3 players with genuine upside. They're not getting superstars. But they're getting building blocks. And in a division where the rebuild is real, building blocks matter. The interesting question is whether this trade accelerates Detroit's timeline, or whether these players simply become valuable trade chips again in 2 years. That answer depends entirely on the coaching staff and player development system, and that is a longer conversation for another video. But let's come back to where we started. 4 players moved simultaneously. A new catcher signed. And Ohtani is happy. In baseball, when the best player on the roster says he is happy with a front office decision, that tells you everything you need to know. It tells you the organization is communicating. It tells you the star player has trust. And it tells you the Dodgers are building something that goes beyond the season. An ERA under 1.00. MVP frontrunner. Cy Young contender. And now a roster specifically constructed to support him. If you're a fan of any other team in the National League right now, you should be very, very nervous. Because the Dodgers didn't just make a trade today. They sent a message. And Shohei Ohtani is delivering it, one pitch at a time.